there has to be a P. If I just have a single phase, there's no requirement, right? So I can have any temperature and pressure within that phase region. So in other words, when I have a single phase, I have 2 degrees of freedom. 2 things I can change. If I have 2 phases, I can only have 1 thing that can change. The degrees of freedom has been reduced. And that's what the phase rule is about. It's just as simple as that. It's just the mathematics of saying, well, if I got set 2 functions equal to one another, and each of them depended on 2 variables, so if I put them equal to one another, that means I should be able, if I choose one, I should be able to calculate the other. That's all it is. And so the phase rule is, if F is the degrees of freedom, and P is the number of phases, not pressure now, number of phases, and C is the number of components. So here I've just added in, the X there. Then you have that F equals C minus P plus 2, where T and P are allowed to change. Let's see how it works. So let's say I have, I did it over here. Let's make a little table. So let's say I have a single component, C equals 1. I'll put the number of degrees of or the number of phases here, and the number of degrees of freedom. So if I have 1 phase, I put it in there, it says P is 1. I have 1 component, 1 minus 1 is 0, plus 2. I have 2 degrees of freedom. Let's go to our single component phase diagram here, like this one. That means I'm out here, 1 phase. It means I can change the temperature and pressure, no problem. Let's say I have 2 phases. Well, I put in the 2 there. It's 1 minus 2, that's minus 1, plus 2, that's 1. I only have 1 degree of freedom. So that's like a point on one of these lines. A point on one of these lines means if I change the temperature, if I still maintain 2 phases, the pressure changes. Only 1 degree of freedom. And the last one, for a single component, is 3 phases. If I have 3 phases, well, that means 1 minus 3, that's minus 2 plus 2, that means there's 0 degrees of freedom. What's that about? Well, of course, you go right here, and the point that I purposely left out in my discussion was this one. It's called the triple point. It's the only point in the phase diagram